It's time to turn over a new leaf. Payday 3, developed by Starbreeze Studios, formerly Overkill Software, and published by Deep Silver, launched on September 21st, 2023. And after having gotten a month, give or take, to play it, I wanted to discuss what I thought. While I do not intend on making builds or guides or anything for this I want to talk to you about guilt, but I also want to talk to you about Payday 3. Dog's not even up here to appreciate this. Okay, hold on. Payday 3 is a cooperative FPS released on the 21st of September 2023, developed by Starbreeze Studios, formerly Overkill Software. It is not a sequel to Payday 2, more than it is a sequel to Payday the Heist again. The game feels more like Payday the Heist 3 and not Payday 2, if that makes sense. The game's pace is more deliberate, it's more tactical. You have to make smart decisions. You have to know when to fold them. But perhaps even more than that, Payday 3 takes that mentality and extends it to almost a tactical FPS extent. At the very least, it's the most tactical Payday has ever felt like. So, at the end of Payday 2, the gang gets off scot-free. They're claimed to be dead. President Bain says they're gone now, don't worry. Commissioner Garrett wins a little medal. They spend all their money. Except the crew then gets attacked by an orchestrated hit. So orchestrated that no matter where they were in the world, almost every member of the Payday crew that gets affected and survives try to get back in touch with each other. And it's important to point out that not everyone does survive. Although right now they just simply say, we haven't heard from this character. As if Ethan Klein's going to be important to the world of Payday again. All of their money is frozen. All of their accounts are closed. They have no money. All they have is a protege of Bane's who hooks them up with signature 40s, car 4s, and their old masks, and welcomes them to the criminal underground of New York. This is Shade, and I feel like there would have been a great opportunity to involve this character in Payday 2, but they kind of just use the lost tapes to bridge the gap between the two games, and I don't really know how I feel about that. Out of all the members of Payday 2's crew, Twitch, Bile, Vlad, The Butcher, Dallas Hoxton Chains, and Wolf, now played by Nicholas Berglund, Joy, and Locke, as of the newest patch 1.0.2, are all confirmed to be alive. Everyone else is not. Starting back with nothing, it is up to the crew to build themselves a minor fortune that they can then use to solve the mystery of who put a hit out for the Payday crew. After all, they should be gone, right? Well, there are some folks who might have words about that. Murky Water, the Garnet Group, it's pretty much just Murky Water and the Garnet Group. I don't know why I made this sound like there's me a bigger list. Blaine Keegan and the lady from one of the Triad missions are also back, but I don't really think they count as characters in the Payday world. If they are, then they're on the same level as Lucas, and if you don't understand that, now you understand. The gameplay is almost unchanged. It is slower, as I prefaced, because you have a temporary amount of armor. It breaks off in distinct plates, and you can repair those plates by picking up new ones. but they have to be found within the world and picked up. And typically those are in deployable bags, which you will bring. The deployables have been buffed and nerfed kind of simultaneously. Each bag can contain 6 charges, and those charges include things like a couple magazines worth of ammo, some of your health back, and if you have a certain skill, a bleed out. Armor, it's 1 plate, or it'll fix your previous plate and add 1 more. These, on their own, are quite weak. However, first aid kits can be found just throughout the world. You can even trade hostages for them. Sure, they don't restore all of your health, but if you have a certain skill, they do restore a bleed out. And they can restore a pretty substantial amount of your health if you use them at the right time. You see, the entire skill set behind Payday 3 is focused on 3 core perks. There is one that increases your movement speed for 20 seconds, one that increases the damage that you can deal in 20 seconds, and one that reduces the amount of damage you take for 20 seconds. And these are very basic perks that have very basic activation cues, determined based on the skills you pick up. However, all of the other skills in a skill line complement that. So you might have an opportunity where every time you reload from an empty mag, you get grit, say. But then you'll also have skills that affect what grit can do for you. It might allow you to heal yourself. You might be able to shrug off stun if you have grit, or you might be able to have better recoil. This is a really cool system. It reminds me of old school role-playing games, especially MMOs from about the mid-2000s. A small handful of core perks that you pick up, rather than a bunch of skills scattered everywhere that you have to micromanage. It's controversial, for sure, especially because you only get 21 skill points versus the 120 of Payday 2, but I feel that a lot more of the skills feel more interesting because they play with those 3 buffs. I always have an idea as to how these skills are going to affect me, and moreover, what it's going to take to activate them. On top of that, in missions, as you get kills and complete objectives, you build up a bar to what is called an overkill weapon. Provided there's been a little bit of time since the last one's been called in, you can hit the Z key to call in your own. This takes 2 forms. There is a grenade launcher, previously the Piglet in Payday 2, this time the Mamba, but there's also an anti-material rifle, the Red Vox. And they're supposed to be really good for dealing with strong enemies, groups of enemies, or things like bulldozers. Except the bulldozer's in bomb-proof armor, so when you shoot a grenade at him, he kind of just laughs it off. And that's the one you start with. You have to hit level 40 to unlock the Red Vox, which is stupid. Because the Mamba also does self-damage. It used to do more, but it still does self-damage. Why? I get they're trying to add trade-offs to the overkill weapons, but one of them just fires in a straight line and hits a few enemies. If you miss, you miss. The other one has blast damage. That can hurt you, that can hurt your teammates, that can hurt civilians around you. So there's a lot of places you can't fire the stock overkill weapon. And that kind of includes all of the first mission. I want to talk about No Rest for the Wicked, but first we have to talk about every other heist in the game. Or rather, most of them. If it's not a legacy heist and it's not Road Rage or No Rest for the Wicked, they all have light ImSim elements. There are little environmental puzzles to solve that'll tell you where codes for keypads are, or they will give you key cards that allow you to progress. These little puzzles are fun. There's a lot of different ways to handle them. In Dirty Ice, the jewelry store mission, there's a keypad to get into the basement. You have a number of options. You can go put a drill on it, which will attract all the guards, or you could look around for the code, or you could just brute force the code. You can see the 4 digits involved as fingerprints under a black light. So if it's got a 3, 6, 7, and 8, you can just try all the combinations of 3, 6, 7, and 8 until it lets you in. or the drill will get done, or you just find the code. And then down there, there's a safe that you can open. And safe cracking, it's a minigame where you turn the dial. Lockpicking functions almost exactly like Raid World War II, which I find interesting. Sure. But inside that safe and dirty ice is blackmail that you can then use against the store's manager to get them to open up the employees' only workshop. There you can take all the bags of jewelry and filter out everything that's been location tagged. Everything else can be sold, and then that bag of clean jewelry scores you a greater payday at the end of the mission. This is cool. This kind of stuff is awesome. And though it does get stale after you play the mission for the 15th time, it's still interesting. Likewise, stealth is a lot better. You don't immediately break stealth and go straight into loud. If you have been caught, a guard will simply cuff you and then start a search. All the guards on the map will start shuffling around, and then that increases the chances that they'll see more suspicious stuff and finally pull the alarm. But that means that you get second chances. People can come to your aid and uncuff you. Sure, they're in searching mode now, but if you know how to dodge around them, that's not a big deal. And with all that said, No Rest for the Wicked sucks, okay? If you play it in stealth, you have to get the vault open, otherwise all your progress gets destroyed. You have to then just pour thermite onto the ceiling of the vault and set it ablaze. And that's slow, and that's frustrating. The map doesn't run good. There are optional objectives, but I genuinely don't think they make a difference. It's search through a bunch of papers, okay, now open one drop box, and there's what you need. If it's worth anything, it might be worth loose cash, maybe, or it might be worth it for the collect everything objective to get infamy points that they added in patch 2. We need to talk about the infamy points. So prior to patch 2, infamy points was how you level up, and you got those by completing challenges. Challenges can range from spot a guard to complete this mission before the heist goes loud, before the first assault on a given difficulty. Collect every single bag. Those are the kinds of optional objectives that lead to challenge completion. But once you've completed the easy challenges, all that's left are the really frustrating ones, or the really grindy ones. We're talking like, complete this mission on very hard 50 times. And that's frustrating. That's deeply frustrating. They did change it. You do get a few infamy points if you collect every bag in a mission, no matter how many times you've done it. You do get a couple infamy points for completing a mission in stealth. You get 20 for completing a mission. That means that as you get later and later into the game, you don't have to sit there in the menu screen for so long figuring out what skills to take or what gaps you haven't filled. You don't need to sit there and go, okay, so I need 60 kills with the Moscone, but if I can get 35 kills with the Scar, I get that leveled up, but that's fewer infamy points than the other one because I have more kills with that one. You don't have to do that. I mean, it's still in your best interest to do that. But that's not playing a video game. Between every mission, we would just be doing bookwork to see what our closest challenges were. They did add a couple challenges to the main menu, so that way you can see, oh, I should do that one next. But there's still that frustration, and that bleeds into other parts of the game. Weapon customization makes no difference. The most I've seen some stats change is as many as 10 whole pixels. Some, it's a single pixel on a 2K display. To prove to myself that I wasn't crazy, that these stats do truly mean nothing, I ripped the stock off my Rheinfeld shotgun. I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it at all. I didn't put a foregrip on my Moscone. I run it almost exactly like the super shotgun sprite from Doom 2. I don't really notice a change. It runs fine. really the only stats that make a very big deal are things like extended or speed pull magazines that allow you to have more rounds or reload them faster. And most of those cost C-stacks, which are a quasi-premium currency in that you spend your in-game money on C-stacks at an exchange rate that just keeps getting worse throughout the week. The first time you buy either 1, 5, or 10 C-stacks, the deal is very good, but each subsequent time until the next Monday, they're gonna get worse. And as a result, you spend like millions of dollars for the only upgrades in Payday 3 that aren't incremental upgrades. And also, because these guns use the same 5 or 6 weapon mods, but they shuffle the order to make it feel more unique, sometimes you get the best weapon mod for a given weapon, like, early, and then all the other things, like, the angled ghost grip is pretty much just a worse version of the quick hold grip. And sometimes you get one before the other, and other times it's different. For the pistols, one of the suppressors cuts your damage range, which gives you this very hardy chunk of your damage bar. Gone. But sometimes that's the one you start with, and other times, no, you get the snub suppressor, which is just suppressed. It's just better. Why? No, seriously, why is it like this? Because it frustrates me deeply. Payday 3 is a game that doesn't know how good it's supposed to be. It has the trappings of a very good co-op FPS, but there are so many questionable decisions. I didn't even talk about the fact that under the surface, the art gallery mission is full of AI artwork. Okay, so I want to chronicle this real fast. I was trying to get the evidence that they used AI to make the images in Under the Surface, so I went back to the tweet that I saw that clued me in on this. I said in a recent Payday 3 stream that I was under the impression paintings on Under the Surface were made to look like AI, but were not AI generated. The dev diaries, they claimed that they had a branding artist and a bunch of other artists who put together the world of Payday 3 through its art assets. The team confirmed it's AI. But if you come over here, you might notice they don't say anything about AI. And I swear to God it said stuff about AI art. So I went looking for the original, the original text, and the only thing I could find is this meme, which isn't a good meme, I will say. There's too many words and the opacity is bad. As we found that the rooms needed to contain about 8 paintings per room, and the only requirements we had on the art was that it looks like pretty bad art, we created the paintings using AI. In the end, the gallery contained more than 100 unique paintings and was created by a small team. One of the key aspects was to sell the pretentiousness of the gallery owner. That lower paragraph is still there. They just stopped talking at themed iconography. And let me make this even stupider. This is Sparrowsoft, a game dev studio that worked on Payday 3. They have their own page on their work on the art gallery mission. And we can see it. There is the surface building. There it is. There's the interior. There's surface. I want to point out, one of their tags is no AI. But the artist openly said they used AI and then backpedaled on it. So now you have all these tweets that are like, oh yeah, no, it's AI. But then it doesn't say it's AI because they changed the wording at some point. So that way they could go, oh, there's no AI. And it's easy to see things like that. And the fact that a lot of the weird jank bugs with Payday 2's collision are in 3. Jumping crouches function exactly the same, which is weird because this is Unreal. It's not Diesel. But in a lot of ways, it feels like Diesel. I don't know if I can recommend Payday 3 as it is right now. It's just not great. It's $40, the same price as Crime Boss Rockay City. It's miles better than Rocket City. But if you're looking for a good 4-player co-op FPS, you already have one. You don't need to play Payday 3. Not right now. I would say give it time. They are finally starting to pick up on the pace on patches. And while I have not played Syntax Error, the first DLC mission, I have played Cook-Off, and I have seen the new content. I've seen the new masks that they're adding to the game, designed by Angus Burgers, who's been the 2D artist for Payday for years. Their work is phenomenal, and it's cool to see it translated into 3D. But there's just so many oddities, and it seems like Starbreeze is committed to fixing them. And I hope that's the case. I hope by Christmas time, or this coming spring, the game's in a better state. Because I would absolutely recommend it. With the asterisk that it's not a great experience. If you've played The Heist, or Payday 2, or Raid World War II, Overkill's The Walking Dead, Payday Crime War, you understand that this is a studio that puts out B-ish grade material. You're not expecting Shakespeare. It's a game called Payday 3. And that's my final verdict. Now I want to go back to the comment I made about guilt. I wanted this video out after Halloween but before Thanksgiving. We did not meet that deadline. I did not meet that deadline. You guys just sat and waited, and I felt bad about that. I felt bad that I didn't really have the energy to take on the Vegas project for the Payday 3 video. I made it part of the way in, and then I just stopped. I didn't really have the energy for it. And every day I'd say to myself, I should finish the Payday video. And then I would do other things, and I would just feel worse by the end of the day. One of the things that's happened since I started working on this video is I got in touch with my therapist again. And one of the things we talked about that kind of shook me to my core is that should is a word that does more harm than good. And it does. Truly, it does. If you tell yourself, I should call my grandmother, every day that passes that you don't wind up calling her, you feel worse about it, even if it was factors outside of your control. You shouldn't say, I should blank. It should be, I chose to blank. I chose not to blank. And when I look at the past month, what should have been this video coming out and other videos coming out like it, I chose not to edit the Payday 3 video, which sounds bad. But then you think about what I've done instead. I chose to work on projects that I've put on the back burner for so long. I chose to spend time with friends and catch up. I chose to take care of my body, to find days to simply relax. I chose to get back into therapy, to get back in touch with my therapist and talk to her more. If you're seeing this video, I chose to make this version of the Payday 3 video. You could argue, perhaps cynically, that Payday 3 broke me. But I think more important than that, what happened is I broke myself by working too hard and getting myself too worked up over something I overthought to the point of oblivion. That happens with projects sometimes. Things get out of your grasp. And it sucks. It sucks deeply. But all it takes is being able to break down the task. And instead of saying, I should have just made a 30-something minute long video about a game most people have stopped playing by now, I chose to take the first step all over again. I chose to break down making this video into small, discrete steps And I chose to keep at it. I chose to simplify the format, and I chose to put this message at the end. Because that was what helped me get to the point where you are now. Sitting at home, or wherever you are, watching this video. If you're on your phone, I hope you have headphones in, and you're not just blasting this to the random folks around you. They don't need to hear that. But that means that I chose a better, healthier way to make this video that I felt more comfortable, more confident in. Payday 3 is cross-platform compatible. It's available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Both on the Epic Games Store as well as on Steam. It's $40, though there are additional versions that feature some cosmetic content and a season pass of sorts. The game is fine, but rather than talk about what it should have been, Starbreeze chose to take Payday in a new direction. And though I won't be along for that ride, at the very least I won't be as ear to the ground to it as I was Payday 2, I choose to sit on the sidelines and watch it go. Hi, my name is Jason Clariddick, and it's time to turn over a new leaf.